Now we will implement a Python program which will take user inputs and it will store it in the list. So for taking user input, we have input function in Python. So let's start. So let's say we want to take around 3 or 4 inputs. So, and we will store it in the list. So let's say, so value is an empty list. We will store the inputs in this value list. Now let's run the loop for I in range 1 to, let's say, 4. So this loop will run for the value of I as 1, 2, and 3. So we will take let's say 3 inputs as of now. So let's say variable x will be our user input, and then we will call input function, and in that we can pass a string so that it can be displayed on the console. So let's say enter value, and then we want to print 1, 2, and 3 dynamically. So for that we can use string formatter. We can type F at the starting of the string, and then in curly braces we can use any Python variable. So here we will use I to print the numbers. So it will print 3 times, enter value 1, then enter value 2, and then enter value 3. And this input function will display this message and it will wait for the input. So now we have taken the input. So let's run this program only. Uh, Instead of completing the whole program and then running it, we can uh, type few lines of code which are complete in itself, and then we can check it if that is correct or not. So here I am taking inputs, 3 inputs, and then printing it. So here it is asking for value 1. So here I is 1, that's why it is printing 1. So let's say we have given value, any value, let's say 3. So here it prints 3 because we have a print statement, and now the value of I is changed to 2. So that's why it has printed enter value 2. So let's say 4, and then enter value 3. So that means this part of code is working fine. Now we need to store this result in list. So how we can store? We can write values dot append x. So this append method will append the value of x in the values list at the end of the list, and then we can print values. This will print the list. So here we are taking input from the user, and then we are appending it in the list, and then we are printing the complete list. So let's say before printing the complete list, we can display a message as well. Then in curly braces, we can use variable values. So let's run this program. So it is asking for first value. Let's say we have given A. So here it is printing the complete list. List is enclosed by square brackets. So here only one element is present, that is A. Now it is asking for value 2. Let's say B. Now list contains 2 values, A and B, and in the same order or sequence that we have inserted. then let's say third value is C. So here it prints all the three values in a single list. Now here, if we run this program again, and instead of you can say alphabet, if we type any digit, let's say 2, instead of integer type, it is displaying as a string type. Why? Because the user, the input function will take the input from the console and it will convert that into a string, and then it returns as a string. So here everything that is present in the X will be a string. So if we want, like, A should be a string only, but the values should be of integer type, then how we can do? So we can modify the code here, like after getting the value in X in string format, we can check if X dot is digit. This is digit method will return true if X contains any numeric value. So here we can uh, convert X into integer of X. And if it is not the is digit or the condition is false, that means it will be a string. So we can append it as it is. So here we are just modifying the value of X and then we are appending it X. Now let's check the output. So enter value 1. Let's say we have given A. Sorry. So here we can see A in a string format. Then this is numeric value. So here now we can see there is no single quotes. It means it is taken as a integer value. Then let's say 5. So here also 5 is without single quotes. It means it is taken without single quotes. That means it is not a string, it is a integer. Now what we can do is this statement or these three lines can be converted into single line. How? Let's check that. Let's first comment and then we can write it as values dot x if integer of if x dot is digit. So basically, this condition is on x and we are modifying the value of x, and then in the values we are appending the x, whether it is updated x, I mean integer x or string x. So therefore in the end we are calling values dot append. So that's why I have written values dot append. Now the main concern is over the value of x. So we can write it as in a single line, like integer of x, I mean convert it into x if x is a digit. If this condition is true, then use integer x. Otherwise, or we can say else, use x. So basically append what value will be appended? Either this value will be appended, integer x, or x value will be appended based on this if condition. So if this condition is true, then the value at left hand side will get appended to values list. Otherwise, if this condition is false, then we have value x in the else part. So x will get appended. So let's run this program, and this is the commented code. So this will be ignored by the Python interpreter, or we can delete this code as well if you want. Let's say delete. And now let's run the program. So if I type 2, then it should be taken as an integer. So here there is no single quotes. If I type A, it will be represented as a string with single quotes. And 6 will again be integer. So that's how we can modify the code and reduce the number of lines. Now we will write a program to find minimum and maximum value from a list. So let's say we have a list values with value, let's say 3, 2, 1, 6 and 5. So here minimum value is 1 and maximum value is 6, but let's find it through program. So how we can do is we can set two variables. Let's say min value equals to, let's say, values of 0, and then max value. So we will set min and max value with value of first element equals to value of 0. So min value will contain value of 0, which is 3, and max value will be also 3. And now we will iterate over the loop and check the value one by one. Let's say for I in range. So for 0 we have already covered. We will start from 1 till length of values. So now we will check if values of I is less than min value, then we will assign the value of I to min value variable, because it is less than the current value which is presented minimum value. Okay, then again we will write a new if statement that has to be executed whether this statement is true or false. So we will check if values of I is greater than the present value stored in max value variable. If it is greater than, then update the max value variable with value of I. And after the loop, once all elements from index 1 till the last index gets iterated, we will get the minimum and maximum value. So we can print using string formatting min as min value, then print f max as max value. So we will iterate from 1 till length of the values list one by one. We will check if value of I. So values of I will represent a single element at a time. So here I will be 1. Then values of I, that is value of 1, will be 0, 1. The value at first index. So it is 2. So if 2 is less than min value. So currently min value contains 3. So yes, 2 is less than minimum value. So this condition will get true and minimum value will be equals to value of I, which is 1, value of 1, which is 2. So now min value will change from 3 to 2. And that's how this loop will work. And in the end, we will get minimum value in the min value variable and max value in the max value variable. Let's run this program. So here we get minimum as 1 and maximum as 6. So this is about the using loop and if else condition. But if we don't want to use this, how we can do is there are inbuilt functions. We can comment this code, even this as well. We don't require. What we can do is we can directly use min and max function. What we can do is we can write max and then max function we can use, and we can pass the values list. After that we can use min, and in the variable section we can use min method and pass the values list completely. So this method will take the values list and it will print the max value from the list, and this minimum min method will take values list and it will print the minimum value. Actually it will return and we are printing it. Let's run this program. Here we can see maximum is 6 and minimum is 1. Now we will write a program which will take values from user, and we will be printing minimum and maximum value at runtime. And the values we will be getting from user, we will store it in the list. So let's start. So let's say we have an empty list values. We will store the user input in this list. Then let's take user input first. So for I in range 1 to, let's say, 5. So this will run from 1 to 4. So basically we will take 4 user inputs. So let's say x equals to input, then formatted string, enter value, then variable I, enter value 1, enter value 2, enter value 3. To print the dynamic string, we have used formatted string and the value I. So once we get the input from user, we will add it in the list. So values dot append, let's say x. Now this input method will return the values in string format. So we need to convert them in integer format. So let's say we are typecasting it from string to integer. Now the values list will contain the integer values, and let's print the values list as well. So how we will print list? So this is just a string and then values variable, which is a list. So let's first run this program. This will take 4 inputs from the user and it will print the list every time. So let's run. So here it is asking for value 1 because I starts with 1 and we are printing it here 1. So let's say we have given 3. So in the list we have 3 with as integer type because there are no single quotes. Now it is asking for value 2. So we will type, let's say, 5. Now the list contains 3 and 5. Now it is asking for value 3. We will type 7. So list contains 3, 5 and 7. So let's say we want to find minimum and maximum values. So we can have a separate variable, or we can directly use the min and max function. So first let's use min and max functions. So minimum value will be min function is a built-in function, so we need to use it curly braces. And we will pass the complete list, so it will print the minimum value. And similarly, we will print the maximum value as using max function, and in that also we will pass the complete values list. So let's run this program. So it will print the complete list, then minimum value and maximum value after every input. Okay, so it is asking for. So this is finished. Now let's run this program. Yeah. Enter value 1. So let's say 3. So list contains 3. So minimum is 3 and maximum is also 3. Now it is asking for another value. So let's say 5. So now list contains 3 and 5. So here minimum is 3 and maximum is 5. Now let's say 7. So here again minimum is 3 but maximum has changed from 5 to 7. And now let's say 1. So now minimum is updated to 1 and maximum is 7. So this is how we are storing the result, user input result, in values list by converting it to integer format, and then we are printing minimum and maximum values from the list. Now suppose we don't want to use this inbuilt methods, then how we can implement our own logic? So I have commented this code, this will not get executed. And now we can have two new variables like min value, minval, and maxval, and both are assigned a none value. So here when we get the value user input in variable x, then we have appended values in x, and we can check if now for minimum value we will check if minimum value is not none. If it is not none, and then we will be having else part as well. So if minimum value is none, what we will do? We will just assign what? The current value. So in else part, we will do min val equals to x. But if it is not none, that means it contains some value. Then we will check if the current value, that is x, is less than the present value in minimum value variable, then we will update the minimum value to x. Okay, but if x is greater than minimum value, then we don't have to update the minimum value. So this is about the minimum. Okay, now let's update for maximum. So if maxval is not none, then we will go to else part. If max value is none, what will be doing? Max value equals to x. So this will run only for the first time when we have no elements in the values list. And then if the value is present in maxval, then check if x is greater than maxval, then assign that value to maxval because we want greater value. So this is the logic for maximum value. Now let's print both minimum and maximum. So min, we will write min value, and for max we will write max value. Now let's run this program. So let's say we have 3. So here minimum and maximum both are 3. Why? Because firstly minimum and maximum values are none. I is 1, then it asks for enter value 1. We have entered 3, which is converted to integer type, and then it is appended to the list. Now it is checking if minimum value is not none. So this condition will be false because minimum value is none. Therefore, it will move to else part and minimum value is assigned with value x, which is 3. Then similarly for max value, it is also none. Therefore, it will move to x part and maximum value is also 3. And then we have printed. Now let's say 5. So here we can see minimum is 3, but maximum is 5. Why? Let's check that. So now I equals to 2. It asks for enter value 2. So here enter value 2. Then we have input as 5, which is converted to integer type. It is appended to list. Then minimum value was 3. So if minimum value is not none, this condition is true. Now it will check if x is less than minimum value. That is, if 5 is less than 3, so this condition is false. Therefore, it will move out of the if block and there is no else part, so it will move out of this block completely. Now it will check for maximum value. If maximum value is not none, so this condition is true. Why? Because maximum value is 3. Now it will check if x, that is 5 is greater than 3. Yes, this condition is true. So assign value x to Maxwell. So Maxwell will contain 5. And then we are printing the value, then minimum and then maximum value. So that's why Maxwell is 5. Now let's say 7. So now max value is changed to 7. Now if we type 1, then minimum value is changed to 1. So this is how we have um, we got the minimum and maximum value at runtime. Now we can improve our code. So instead of writing all these lines, what we can do is we can have a single line. So I will first comment these lines and then for minimum value, what we can do is we want only value. And how? So if minimum value, so we want x if minimum value is none, right? And if it is not none, what we want in else part? We want minimum of any of the two value. Which value? Minimum of any of the two value. Which value? Min value and x, right? So this is how we have changed this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines to a single line. So let's again check. Minimum value should be x if minimum value is none. So it will run only for first time. It will take the first value. Otherwise or else assign minimum value the minimum of the current value or the x. So whichever is minimum, assign that. So similarly, we can reduce. So I will remove this code. So similarly, we can remove these 6 lines for max value as well. How? Max value equals to x if max value is none, else assign maximum value from either Maxwell or the current value x. So whichever is maximum, assign that to Maxwell. So I will remove this commented code as well. And now let's run this program. So again, we have, let's say 4. So minimum and maximum is 4 and list contains 4. Now let's say 7. Now minimum is 4 and maximum is 7, and the list contains 4 and 7. Now let's say 1. Now minimum is updated to 1, maximum remains the same. And let's say 8. Now minimum remains same, which is 1, and maximum is updated to 8. So this is how we can improve our code. I mean, we can convert 6 lines to a single line, and we can print the output using the string formatting values. I mean, we have used variables here and a string as well. So yeah, that's it about the minimum and maximum value from a user input list at runtime.